A Minneapolis-based Tesla Model 3 owner faces a crushing $8,000 battery degradation repair. Her 8-year warranty doesn't cover it. It's a shock most EV buyers never see coming until it's too late. So here's the central question we're answering today. What does it actually cost to own an electric vehicle? We're talking about the full picture: battery replacement, resale value, warranty gaps, all the things that most buyers discover after they've already signed the paperwork and it's too late to back out. The real cost goes way beyond what you see on the window sticker. It includes parts of ownership that dealerships don't advertise, that online cost calculators ignore, and that catch first-time EV owners completely off guard. By the time you finish this video, you'll have 3 pieces of actionable knowledge. First, the specific warranty terms that actually matter: what's covered, what isn't, and where the gaps hide your money.
Second, the hidden daily costs that seem small until you add them up over months and years. And third, the actual break-even math that tells you whether an electric vehicle saves you money or costs you more over a decade of ownership. Let's talk about the component that makes an electric vehicle what it is: the battery. And let's be honest about what it costs up front. Electric vehicles run $15,000 to $20,000 more at purchase than an equivalent gas car. That's a significant premium. Manufacturers justify it with a straightforward argument: you'll save money on fuel and maintenance over the vehicle's lifetime. It's appealing when you're sitting in the dealership. The math is usually presented that way in sales pitches: pay more now, save consistently later. But that math only works if everything else stays predictable. Now here's where it gets interesting.
The battery accounts for 25 to 40% of an electric vehicle's total purchase price. That makes it the single largest component cost, bigger than the engine in a gas car, bigger than the transmission, bigger than anything else under the hood. In theory, as battery prices fall across the industry, vehicle prices should drop too. Battery costs have fallen dramatically in the last 5 years, but vehicle prices haven't dropped uniformly. Some manufacturers have passed savings along. Others have kept prices high and absorbed the savings as profit. Here's the critical part that separates expectation from reality: battery degradation. This is what happens when your battery loses capacity over time, and it happens in 2 distinct ways. Calendar aging is the natural chemical decay that occurs just by the battery existing. It happens whether you charge it or not. Cycle aging is the capacity loss from repeated charging cycles.
Every time you charge and discharge, the battery ages a little. Neither type is reversible. They're both permanent. And here's what's important: warranty coverage treats them differently. Some warranties care about one more than the other. So what does battery degradation actually look like in the real world? In 2024, Tesla owners report their batteries lose about 2 to 3% of total capacity in the first 5 years. Chevy Bolts and Nissan Leafs follow nearly identical patterns. The key insight is that most of this degradation happens front-loaded, concentrated in the first 12 to 18 months. After that, the rate of degradation slows down significantly. It's not linear. You see the steepest drop early on, then it levels off. That's important because it affects how much capacity you actually have left when the warranty is most likely to fail. Now, let's talk about the bill.
In 2024, a complete battery replacement ranges from $12,000 for a Chevy Bolt to $13,000 to $16,000 for a Tesla Model 3 long range. Those numbers matter because they're often larger than the total acquisition cost of a used gas car. You could buy an older Honda Civic for less than you'd pay to replace a Tesla battery. And here's the timing problem: most owners hit this replacement need somewhere between year 6 and year 10. That's when your warranty is either expired or expiring. Here's where manufacturer warranties start fragmenting. Tesla covers 70% capacity loss, meaning the battery has to drop to 30% of original capacity before coverage kicks in, over 8 years or 120,000 miles. GM's Ultium batteries cover 60% capacity loss over 8 years or 100,000 miles. Hyundai and Kia do better at 80% over 10 years.
But the gaps matter. That space between what fails and what's covered is where you lose money. If your Tesla battery drops to 35% and the warranty is still active, you get nothing. Most EV cost analyses skip over a critical detail. Not everyone has charging at home.
Home charging installation costs between $500 and $2,500, depending on whether you need electrical panel upgrades. Here's what matters. 30 to 40% of EV buyers need $1,500 or more in retrofit work to get level 2 charging at home. That's more than half your first year's fuel savings, gone before you drive anywhere. It's a cost that online TCO calculators routinely ignore because they assume the infrastructure is already there. But for most first-time EV buyers, it isn't. Public charging sounds abundant until you actually map the gaps. The US has over 400,000 public chargers, more than the 150,000 gas stations we have. But distribution is everything. Coverage is dense in coastal metros and growing technology hubs. Rural areas and much of the Midwest are sparse. The practical difference in charging convenience between San Francisco and rural Nebraska is roughly 10 times. It's not just less convenient, it's a structurally different ownership experience depending entirely on geography. Now we shift to daily ownership costs. What does it actually cost to drive an electric vehicle each day? Electricity costs around 15 cents per kilowatt hour on average. That's about 5 cents per mile. Gasoline at $3.50 per gallon costs 12 to 15 cents per mile. So there's a fuel advantage for EVs, but it's regional. In California, where electricity is 24 cents per kilowatt hour off-peak, that advantage shrinks. Your per-mile cost matches gasoline. Geography determines whether fuel savings are real, but EPA ratings measure efficiency in controlled conditions. Real winter changes everything. When outdoor temperatures drop below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, EPA-rated efficiency falls 20 to 30%. Some owners report 40 to 50% range loss in genuine cold climates. A car rated for 300 miles of range might deliver 200 in winter. That means longer charging times. That means more charging cycles. That means faster battery aging. Cold climates structurally punish electric vehicles, not just inconveniently. The total cost of ownership in Minnesota is meaningfully higher than in California because of how cold stresses the battery. Maintenance is where electric vehicles actually do shine. No oil changes, no spark plugs, no transmission fluid. You're not going to spend your Saturday changing an oil filter. But EVs still need maintenance. They need cabin air filters replaced, brake fluid needs flushing. Thermal management systems need coolant. The cooling systems on EVs are complex. They keep the battery pack at the right temperature, and that system requires upkeep. So maintenance is definitely lower than gas cars. Studies show total scheduled maintenance costs are 30 to 50% lower, but it's not zero. It's not maintenance free. It's just less expensive than the alternative. Electric vehicles wear tires faster. They're 400 to 600 pounds heavier than equivalent gas cars, mostly battery. That weight means tires wear about 20 to 30% faster. Replacement costs are higher too, $150 to $300 more per tire. A replacement that costs $400 on a gas car costs $600 to $800 on an EV, and you do it every 40 to 50,000 miles instead of 60,000. That compounds into a real difference in total ownership cost over a decade. Insurance costs more for electric vehicles. Premiums run 25 to 40% higher than comparable gas cars. Insurers know something. When an EV gets damaged, repair costs are brutal. A door replacement on a Model S can run $6,000 to $10,000. Parts aren't readily available. You're looking at 6 to 12-week waits for components. Damage patterns from accidents are still unfamiliar to repair shops because EVs are relatively new. There's no established playbook. Repair complexity is high. All of that gets reflected in your insurance premium. It's not speculation, it's actuarial mathematics. There's a term you'll see everywhere when researching EV ownership: total cost of ownership, or TCO. It's the sum of every dollar you spend on a vehicle, from purchase through disposal. Fuel, maintenance, insurance, repairs, everything. Major organizations like AAA and Kelley Blue Book publish TCO calculators showing EVs break even over 5 to 10 years, depending on driving patterns, electricity costs, and regional incentives. It sounds definitive, but here's the gap. Those calculators typically omit battery replacement risk and how volatile used EV prices are. The math works in theory. Reality is considerably messier. The federal tax credit is supposed to help bridge the price gap, $7,500 sounds like a significant incentive, but the structure has narrowed dramatically. There are income caps, $75,000 for single filers, $150,000 for married couples. There are MSRP caps, $55,000 for SUVs, lower for sedans. There are battery component sourcing requirements that vary by year. As a result, only 10 to 15% of EV buyers actually qualify for the full $7,500 in 2024. The incentive exists,
But the eligibility fence is high. Most people who can afford a new EV don't qualify. Beyond federal credits, state incentives create a three-tier system. California and Colorado offer significant rebates, $5,000 to $7,500. Texas and Florida offer nothing. Some states phase out incentives entirely as EV adoption increases. Once penetration hits a certain threshold, the state stops paying. So your incentive eligibility depends entirely on your zip code. A buyer in Denver gets more help than a buyer in Dallas. That's not just different savings, that's different affordability. Geography shouldn't determine whether an EV makes financial sense, but it does. Now we reach the brutal moment, resale value. Used EV prices fell 30 to 40% between 2022 and 2024 as new supply surged. Here's the concrete impact. A Tesla Model 3 purchased for $45,000 in 2020 was worth $28,000 to $30,000 by 2024.
That's 40% depreciation. An equivalent gas car retained 60% of value. The gap is real. Used EVs collapsed because manufacturers flooded the market with new inventory. Buyers realized they could get new vehicles with full warranty for what they'd pay for used ones with degraded batteries. The used EV market has a transparency problem. Warranty transfers to second owners are often limited or voided entirely, depending on the manufacturer. A 2023 Chevy Bolt's remaining battery warranty is theoretically valuable, but there's no standardized way for a used car buyer to actually verify the battery's health. You can't know if it's degraded 5% or 30%. Tesla doesn't publish degradation reports. Most manufacturers don't. You're buying something valuable, the remaining warranty, but you have no way to measure what you're actually getting. That creates a market for lemons. Smart buyers avoid it. Here's the financing trap.
if you finance an EV, you're underwater on the loan from year 2 onward. A $50,000 vehicle drops to $25,000 to $30,000 in resale value within 4 to 5 years, but your loan balance stays $40,000 or higher for the first 3 years. You owe more than the car is worth. If you need to sell, you pay the difference. If you want to trade it in, the dealer doesn't help you. You're carrying that negative equity. It's a trap that gas car buyers avoid because gas car depreciation is more gradual. Repair costs outside warranty are catastrophic. A Tesla door replacement costs $2,000 to $4,000, double what you'd pay on a gas car. Thermal management system repairs? That's the system that keeps your battery cool and prevents thermal runaway, which is a catastrophic battery overheating failure, run $1,500 to $3,000.
Luxury EVs like the Model S see repairs exceeding $6,000 to $10,000 for a single component. Expertise is scarce, parts take months to arrive, labor rates are high. That's why the costs compound. Battery replacement likelihood spikes after year 7 or 8, when the warranty expires and real degradation shows. Owners face a harsh choice: pay $12,000 to $16,000 for a new battery or total the vehicle. The economics don't work for most owners. $12,000 isn't justified to extend a 10-year-old car, so they abandon it. That's an economic cliff unique to EVs. Gas cars don't have it. You can run a gas engine at 80% efficiency indefinitely. An EV with 80% battery capacity is worthless. Electric trucks compound the problem further. The F-150 Lightning, Rivian R1T, they have massive batteries. Replacement costs reach $15,000 to $20,000.
That's 50% more than a sedan battery replacement. Efficiency is lower due to weight. Trucks accelerate slower, they have less range per charge. That means more frequent charging, faster battery aging. Resale values are catastrophic. Truck EVs are tracking toward 50% value loss by 2025, worse than sedans.
You're combining the highest replacement costs with the fastest degradation in the worst resale market. It's not a coincidence. But the math works for someone. Let me be clear about that. In specific circumstances, electric vehicles absolutely pencil out. If you live where electricity is cheap, 10 to 12 cents per kilowatt hour, you drive high annual mileage, 15,000 miles or more, and you qualify for incentives, you break even in 4 to 5 years. It's real savings. But if you're in an expensive electricity region, 18 cents per kilowatt hour or higher, and you drive modest mileage, you don't break even before battery replacement risk hits. Your circumstances determine whether ownership makes financial sense. There's no universal answer. Here's what actually happens with ownership. In a 2024 consumer survey, 60% of EV owners reported being surprised by charging costs, insurance premiums, or maintenance needs not disclosed at purchase. That's most owners. The surprise is real and consequential. Many owners respond by reducing their vehicle usage. They avoid long trips because charging networks are sparse or electricity is expensive at public stations. They keep the vehicle parked more often than anticipated. The daily ownership experience doesn't match what salespeople described. For most people, reliability varies by brand. That's important because it affects whether costs stay predictable.
Chevy Bolt owners report the fewest unexpected costs. 55% stay within the range they anticipated. Tesla owners have higher variability. Only 40% report costs staying within expected range. Volkswagen ID4 owners land in the middle at 50%. What's driving these differences? Inconsistent supply chain quality. Some manufacturers have figured out parts sourcing and repair standardization. Others haven't. That inconsistency cascades into actual dollars. Some owners get lucky, others get blindsided. The brand you choose affects your probability of cost predictability. Here's a cost few people anticipate: charging connectors and cables. Different charging standards exist: NACS, J1772, CCS. If you own multiple EVs from different manufacturers or you travel nationally, you need adapters. A Tesla to J1772 adapter or NACS conversion cable costs $200 to $800, depending on the type and quality. These are recurring expenses. Cables fail, adapters wear out. You need backups for long trips.
Multi-vehicle households end up buying several. It seems like a small thing until you're buying your third adapter for $300 and realizing you've spent close to $1,000 on cables alone. Parts availability is breaking the used EV market. 6 to 12-week repair waits are standard in 2024. A bumper issue that takes a week to fix on a gas car takes 2 months on an EV. Insurance companies respond rationally: total the vehicle instead of repairing. They're totaling EVs at 70% damage instead of 85% for gas cars. A minor accident means write-off. That reduces expected resale value. You own a used EV that gets declared total loss in a collision that would be repairable on an older gas car. Here's the twist. The mythology that EVs never break even financially doesn't match real analysis.
They break even in 4 to 7 years for high-mileage drivers in cheap electricity regions. But the break-even point is invisible because it depends entirely on your specific circumstances. It's real math, it's just not universal. The real divide isn't EV versus gas. It's your region's charging infrastructure, your electricity costs, your annual mileage, and whether your battery survives to year 6 intact. None of those apply universally. You could be someone for whom an EV is financially perfect, or someone for whom it's a financial trap. Your circumstances decide. The technology doesn't. That Minneapolis owner's $8,000 repair isn't failure. It's cold climate hitting battery degradation. For someone else, that same car saves $5,000 to $10,000. The difference is just your circumstances.